Okay, so we're gonna put a fish hook on this thing today. This is a beefed up truck, and I'm gonna show you, we're gonna kind of look at the dimension here really quick and see how much this thing's gonna drop. But we have another truck almost identical to this up there on the channel. It's an F250, but the payload's way different than this one. This one's pretty high, and we're gonna see what the fish hook does to this, and we're gonna just talk about the suspension contrast of a super beefed up truck and then a lighter one, and why you might want to go with a lighter suspension and when you want to go with a heavier one, and kind of the, you know, what kind of person are you, where's your focus when you're trying to set up what your truck is capable of. So yesterday we put these tie downs on there for him, the torque lift down here. He's not going to do any suspension upgrades because he does not need them, frankly. And so let's measure this really quick. We got, putting that down there on the ground. Here, we'll kind of go to this line, that way it's easier for the video. Okay, so we're gonna go to 43 3/4. That's where it's at. 43 3/4 with it sitting on the ground. There we go. 43 3/4. Anyway, and we'll see how much that sucker squats. This is a long bed. Man, that's a pretty truck. But anyway, we'll get into all the specs of that fish hook. I'll show it to you. Let's go and look at it really quick. Got to get rid of that cardboard. Didn't you say you were gonna... We have our mistakes. Believe it or not, we accidentally built that too long. Sometimes that happens. Anyway, so it literally doesn't fit any truck on the road. This is the fish hook here that's going to go on that truck. Notice all his antennas. He's got that antenna mount bracket up there. But this is the fish hook that's going on there. And we'll kind of cover its poundage here and everything, how much weight this one's at. You can see it's got differences than that one. You know, he's on this one, he went with the manual jacks. On that one over there, they went with the electric. And anyway, there's some differences on each one of them. They both have the awning, but we're gonna take this guy and put it on. This one here is going to get installed with traditional tie downs rather than the inside the bed tie downs. Okay, so that's what he likes. I've got it up in the air to answer some guys who have asked this question on the bottom, what the bottom looks like. We do this so that it acts as kind of a buffer between the camper here and the truck, and then also if there's any kind of water or stuff standing in the bed, you have some airflow, stuff can dry out, but also the fail point's going to be that treated plywood. So it's just a really good way to do it. Plus, if you had to have a sprayed bed or a bed mat of some sort, this grips into that bed mat in particular spots a little bit better. But yeah, he does not have a sprayed bed. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and set this thing on the truck, and then we'll see how much that thing squats. As soon as I have it backed under there, I'm going to show, we're gonna jump out and see what the height is. And then guys, as I'm going through this, I'll do a walkthrough video on this here, and then I will link that here at the end of this video or something. And then I'll also kind of throw a little card you can go to and see the walkthrough on this particular fish hook. So I'll do that here in a minute as soon as I'm done doing this video. But I kind of want to focus on suspension for this video. But this camper, I believe, with its particular upgrades, and again, you can go to that walkthrough video, but I believe this one's going to be sitting right around 1,650 pounds with everything he asked us to put in it. So that gives you an idea of what happens to that truck suspension when we set it on there. So let's go ahead and get this thing on there. This is a nice pickup truck. All right. I know I'm backing up and all that, not on video. I'm not necessarily doing this video to show the backing up process, but coming in here, I like to watch this spot over my shoulder in the mirror through this little pocket right here of space. I kind of watch through right through there, and I look at, you see that gap where you can see the blue connex between the edge of the truck, kind of like straight down from there. I kind of watch that spot through this portion over my shoulder rather than the mirrors, and then I check that jack and this jack in my mirror and make sure I'm good, and then you can back up by yourself. But I stop because this is usually where I stop. I get out, I make sure everything's even in here and everything's good, make sure it's straight here, and then I kind of walk around. I check this gap related to this gap, and it's pretty good, pretty accurate, pretty close to each other. But then as you're dropping the camper, when you drop this, you can see that down in there, there's about a 3-inch gap between the camper and the floor. Hi, buddy. Hey, man. Between the camper and the floor. And so what happens is, as I drop this jack down, this thing, the camper's gonna come this way or go that way, right? So don't get too crazy about how you're backing it up to make it perfect, because the thing's just gonna move anyway once you start dropping it. So I like to adjust and get perfect with the placement using these, and just literally pushing the camper like this. You can see it's moving. I do that rather than trying to back the truck up perfect. Anyway, also, yes, this is how this works right here, the drill chuck. That's how those jacks work. And yes, use a good solid drill and run it on one. Don't run a cheap drill on 2 or 3 just trying to save time by running it fast. You'll burn these up back to back. So yeah, that's a good drill for this. Well, also, the other reason I jumped out is the tying down process. I've had several questions about how these things tie down on the inside of the bed and on the outside. So let's look at this side where you don't have as much road noise. But we take on the inside of the bed and we tie down here using a ratchet strap and spring system. Sometimes it's a spring-loaded turnbuckle. There's only certain things available on the market. And then we come to these tie downs here in the corner of the bed. Those are plenty strong, but there are some options where, depending on the truck, some of them aren't as strong. But you can put an eye bolt through into here, one that's rated properly, into the bed and tie it in underneath with a plate and everything. That's what 4-wheel drive camper does a lot, so that's what a lot of people know. And then also Torque Lift, the company for these tie downs underneath here, that company, we happen to be, well, there's a bunch of Torque Lift right there. We happen to be a pretty big Torque Lift supplier up here, probably the biggest in the state. This company just came out with a product. There's the company, Torque Lift International. They just came out with a product that is called their Apex and tie down system, which is a nice tie down system that comes in, and it's got a bracket that goes over to the chassis of the truck, and then it ties in to the bed, and it leaves a little much like a gooseneck ball, you pull it up, and it's got a nice little tie down point that is a lot more secure than the corner tie downs that come factory with these trucks. So that's the tie down system. Other than that, we go to the corners here on these eye bolts, but these have their limits too, depending on where this lands, this step, and where the fuel door lands on the different trucks. And then also, you know, every truck's a little different. You got it short bed, long beds. Every one of them has something different going on with the tie down system. So we're actually coming up with an option that will probably mount on the sidewall and bolt into the sidewall of the camper, and have a bracket that's back here. That way you can have options on getting the proper opposing angles of your turnbuckles. But this gentleman actually wanted the traditional tie down system rather than the inside bed tie down system, where you have to get in through this access door. And this is a nice insulated access doors that you open up from the inside, and you can get to your plug and all of that, and then also your tie down. But nice, got lights, that's all cool, very good. And this is what this gentleman's going with, is the Torque Lift Excel. This is probably the most common tie down out there now. It's just a good good tie down. That's stainless steel and powder coated there. Anyway, so while we're sitting here with the truck, before it is loaded, let's get that measurement there. All right, so we're down on the ground right there, and we're at 43.5. You saw out front, this is why I remeasured, because out front that was sitting at 43 3/4. Maybe I cheated a little bit by accidentally scraping too much, but we're in the zone. We're in the proper zone. So let's get this thing set on. Okay, I think we're just about there. Got a 2x6 there in the front to set it back a little bit, give it a good buffer. Out of all the different spacers and hundreds of different campers, nothing much beats a 2x6. Okay, very good. Now from there, I like to take the camper and cradle it into that front wall. So, right on. I'm gonna cross check one last time on my dimension. This is why you go back and forth, because you just wanna make sure it's about right. So we're within 1/4 inch there. Measuring on the gravel, that's just how it's gonna be. Just how it is. But looks like we're in there pretty good. And again, I'll do a quick walkthrough on this thing in a video here in a minute, and then I'll throw that up on the channel too. But right now we're doing suspension. All right, let's set it down. Okay, those back jacks are down. As you can see, it's setting in the bed right there. That jack's off the ground. So is that one. And the reason why, guys, I put the back down first is so that as it goes, it cradles, it pushes a little bit gently into that front wall. And now the thing is tight against the front, and you don't have it sliding forward when you get 5 miles, 10 miles, 50, 100 miles down the road. Okay, that one's off the ground. And see, this one's on the ground again. We'll get that one here in a second. Let's do the other side. You see that back jack coming down closer as we... Oh, truck came down a little bit. It knows it's on there a little. My guess is going to be about 2 inches. Okay, that one's off the ground. That one's off the ground. Let's get this last one off the ground, and that's going to be our official. Let's watch what it does. Oh, didn't really move. Okay. Boom. Okay, let's get that tape out. Oh, 2 inches. Nice. Perfect. 2 inch drop. Right there. That thing's loaded. It's nowhere near overloaded. And then we'll look at this once these tie downs are on. Let's look at the door. What you got? He just came off of lunch. I don't know where he's at though. So you guys can see, I did another video of a truck, very similar looking to this. And it was an F250, but it had a 1995 payload. This one's got 4566. So a little over 2,500 pounds higher payload on this truck than on that other one. And you can tell there's no suspension help going on here. You can see where he's at here, setting on that leaf. That one, again, this camper's about 1650, and it that truck's not gonna know it's on there. It's just not gonna know. So anyway, I think I covered some good stuff there. These torque lifts, let's grab those really quick so you can see those, because that's the last thing. I know I had several folks with questions on that particular item, so let's look at that. Down in here, these shanks here, once these jacks are up, That right there, these jacks will come all the way up, and then this will feed in there. And then you get your pins closed, right? You can have this on the inside setting or on the outside, and then that'll take up to that tie down there, right? Okay, let's pull this out and look at it really quick. As I'm driving, I keep looking at that antenna and I think it's a post that I'm gonna run into. Okay, look at how that thing's sitting on there. Not bad. Not bad at all. He's not even gonna know this thing's on his truck. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna do that walkthrough video now. Hopefully that answered more questions than I set out to answer, tie downs and all that. Yeah, not bad. The reason why, before I end the video, the reason why these right here facing the same direction is so that if you hit a frost heave or something happens, it pops, does this. If those hooks are going opposing directions, that thing's can fall out that way. So there's less of a chance that if this is a C, for when it pops and falls a certain direction, that it's not going to come off. Anyway, all right, cheers. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope that was helpful.